Alright, so let's take a look at Unit 3, Module 1, which is Spreadsheets as Database, or as Databases. If you just review over the PowerPoint slides, I'm not going to dive into what data is, but I suggest you read through it, just kind of get a grasp of what actually data is. So we do have to define what a table is when we're talking about databases. A table is basically a data structure that organizes information into rows and columns. These rows and columns are then called records and fields. Records, you're going to start off with a header row, which is basically the first row of the table, and it's descriptive and gives you titles and labels. Your record is each row of data. That would be a row. And your field is each column. So just as an Excel spreadsheet has information in these rows and columns, a database will have fields and records. Okay, so why would you want to use Excel as a database? Rather than using Microsoft Access. Now, we're not going to really dive into Microsoft Access with this course. This is primarily for Excel. But Microsoft Access is a specific database tool, while as Excel, as you're learning, is more for is a spreadsheet tool, which is used for calculations, complex calculations. If you were wanting only to just track data, just names, account numbers, addresses, just text data, or just data, you would really want to go with Access, and that's a more advanced class, and you can learn that as you go along in your career, both in the business world and in the academic world. So why you would want to use Excel is if you were wanting to track data as well as build some complex calculations as far as total sales, total number of products sold, that type of thing. So Excel is going to be better for analyzing that data and performing those calculations. So both of these programs have great benefits. Access is an awesome database. When you learn it, you can do a lot of tools, a lot of things with it. You can manipulate data and be a whiz. And actually, it's a very lucrative background. You can do more searches into Access database managers and what they make and everything. I mean, it is a good career to know, a good program to know. But Excel would be just for, like I was saying, complex calculations as well as doing a little bit of data tracking. Alright, so how do you turn an Excel spreadsheet into a database tool? Well, first thing we got to do is we've got to change it from just a calculation type spreadsheet to a table. So as you can see here, we've got some data in this spreadsheet. We've got customer information, account number, address, zip code, salesperson, order number. Typically something a business might want to use to try to track customers. So if you look up here on the ribbon, you can see in your styles group that you have three different items here, three different choices. And is in the middle, there's format as table. This is how we're going to change this spreadsheet from a calculating spreadsheet to a database or to a table. So it's real simple. Basically, you would want to highlight your data, or the area that your data is going to go in. Let's just use the first 6 columns and the first 15 rows just as an example, and you would highlight that. Go up, click Format as Table. When you click the drop down arrow there, you're going to see that you have various styles that you can pick, and again, make these easy to read for the people that are going to read these. If you like orange and something crazy color, it may not always read the best way, so just keep that in mind. So I'm just going to use something in a medium, and you can see there's light style, medium style, and dark style. I'm just going to go with a medium style, usually blue, and just click it. and then you're going to get an actual dialog window come up that's going to say format as table, and where is the data for your table. Now you already highlighted it. You can, if you just wanted to plug in another area over the side over here or whatever, do another one, you could highlight, you could put in a different formula there. You can see that this is a formula. It's equal $A through $1, or $, that cell is going to be absolute, and then it's going to be through F15. And so there's the area. Now you could, like I said, you could put this formula in if you like. You do want to click my table has headers, because that's going to add these areas here as your headers, and that's important in a database and important in a table. And then you click OK. Now as you can see, it changed. First off, you've got your tab at the top, on your ribbon at the top, it changed, and you've got a table tools tab now, and under a design tab for the table tools. And if you notice across the top, you also have you have drop down arrows here. Of course, the color changed because you picked it, but the thing that you really want to look for is to see if it's a table or not, is if you have these drop down arrows. These are going to be your sort areas. So you can see that here it did. So that's really all you have to do to change it to a table. Okay, so as you see, I've thrown in some information in the table, and it did some calculations. I want to fix that real quick just so we have some numbers in there. It's not calculations. Okay, let's say I wanted to add another column to that, another field to it, or another row. So all I would need to do is basically click on at the top here, like a G1. So we're going to add another field to it, and let's say I needed to know the sales, so I'm going to put sales in there. Just type in sales and hit enter, and as you see, it added it to the database. So that's, if you keep adding it, if you need to keep adding fields to it, that's as simple as you have to do. Rows, same thing, is basically just insert, and it inserted another row. Real simple. Okay, so let's just throw some numbers in here real fast. So, and we're going to make this, we're going to format this as a currency, 2 decimal places, and there. Okay, so we got some cells in there. So Excel will still do the calculations that I was saying. So, for example, let's say that you need to add these up. So you go back to your design tab, which we were on the home tab originally. We're going to click back on our design tab, and then we are going to, you see right here in the design, in the tab style option group, you have your header rows, your banded rows, which is these, they're banded rows. The blue and the light blue are the banded rows, and then you have a total row. So let's click in G, and we're going to make that a total row, and as you can see at the bottom, it gives you a total row of those cells, so that it can still do your calculation. Just like in you can name it in your table name here. You can resize it. You can summarize it with a pivot table. You can insert a slicer. Now a slicer is a pretty cool tool, and we should be covering that in just a few. So I don't want to dive into that just yet. But anyway, there are times when you may have duplicates and you want to remove those duplicates. And basically Excel has this, using the tool, has the ability to remove them for you. So I'm just duplicating this whole amount here. Alright. Okay, so to remove duplicates, it's really simple. All you have to do is go up in your tools group and click your area again. Click your area again here and hit remove duplicates. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to delete duplicate values, select one or more of the columns that contains the duplicates. You can select all, or you can actually select a certain column. So I'm going to go with select all just so, because I want it to go through all the columns. Hit OK. And as you can see, I got a return of 12 duplicate values found, and they removed 3. So it did remove the duplicates. Now this could be important if you were wanting, if you knew that was a duplicate, or if you sold the same amount or used the same information, it may not be a useful tool. But as you can see, it took it out. So that is one of the tools with Excel as a database. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned about a slicer, and there may be times when you actually would use a slicer or need a slicer, which it's a pretty good tool. What it does is, let's say you had to work with a large amount of data, and you wanted to actually break out and find a way to analyze specific data. There's not a lot of data on this table, but as you can see, there's a couple of different salesmen and our salesperson. So we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, we want to figure out just the sales by individual salesperson. So a slicer would be a good tool to actually use. So you go back to your table tools, and under design, as you can see, you click insert slicer. Well, first you need to highlight your area that you want to work with, and you want to click insert slicer. Now, you're going to get a floating window that's basically going to come up, and it's going to ask you, what do you want to slice, or what do you want to pull out, what do you want to divide up. So we want to do it by salesperson. So you can see here that you can insert slicers under customer, account number, address, zip code, salesperson, or number of sales. Because everything in this table is individual data, it would just be individual slicers. So I want to break it down by salesperson, which will be a combined slicer. So if we click on salesperson, then click, let me move this up just a little bit so you can see it. So you click OK, and here it will tell you, it's going to ask you which one you want. So we're going to click Hank Hill, and as you can see, it basically breaks it out by salesperson. Now you could click the others too. Fred Sanford shows you what their sales are, Peg Bundy shows you what sales there are, and then blank, which it just blanks it totally out. So this can be very helpful if you're working with a lot of data, a lot of information on your spreadsheet. Okay, so let's say we want to actually get rid of the slicer. So then you would want to remove it. So what you want to do is you right click on the actual slicer, and as you can see, it's going to come up with your format options here, and then under this item here, remove salesperson. That's going to be, you see the big X, that's where it's going to remove it. So we could just go ahead and click with get rid of it. Okay, so well, let's look at it another way too, and actually insert a slicer that has multiple information. So we're going back, we highlighted our data, we click insert slicer, and we're going to do customer and salesperson. So, and hit OK. Now here you have your salesperson and your customer. So you could do this one, okay, or you could, and as you see, you click customer, and it also pulls the salesperson. Click the other customer, like Homer Simpson, it shows it's Hank Hill, and then it's Hank Hill again. But as you click Hank Hill, you notice it also highlighted the other name, the other customer, Red Fox. So it actually breaks it down as well. If you click on that, it will click on the salesperson. It's going to give you the customer's name as well. Same thing. You can clear your filter by clicking right in there. It clears that filter. Same thing with this one. Clear your filter there. It goes back to the main page. And again, if we want to remove it, we can just remove the customer, remove the salesperson, and then we're back to the regular table. Alright, so you've worked with the table, but you want to convert it back to a range, which is the regular calculation Excel spreadsheet. It's called a range. So you see here we got our table, we got all the data that's still up, and we want to convert it back to the range, just a regular spreadsheet. Then we go back to our table tools, our design tab, click that, click it again, go into design tab, and if you look right here, there's under your tools group, there's convert to range tool. So basically, as you can see, it converts this table to a normal range of cells and still keeps your data. Now the colors will be all the same. If you click it, it's going to say, do you want to convert the table to a normal range? You hit yes. basically brings it back to a normal range. As I said, all your colors and everything, your banded sheet, your banded rows are still the same because it just formatted those cells. So it will look like that's the same, nothing changed. But if you notice up here in your header row, all those columns, there's no drop down. So there's no way to really sort that as a table. Now you would have to sort it a different way, and we'll cover that later.